All right, how we doing again, everyone? Another new topic on a video relating more to females nowadays, and one of the main issues that we see throughout the past few generations. But I want to talk about thoughts. Now, what I wanted, for those of you who don't know what a thought is basically a more modern term for a woman who's basically a whore or a slut, a woman who basically uses her body and uses sex in order to get what she wants, particularly from men and from the rest of society. Now, I want to bring up a video, well, a clip of a video of this interview by this female rapper named Soleil. Soleil was a female rapper who was pretty popular back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And for her time, she was a bit of a hardcore rapper and MC. And she also was a bit sexually provocative for her time. And she did this interview, I believe, a couple years ago or a year ago, in which she was asked about her thoughts on female rappers nowadays. And I want to go ahead and show or bring up the clip in which she honestly expresses what she thinks about female rappers nowadays. Because I think she has a lot of truth to what she has to say. And I want to expand upon the points she brings up and offer my opinions on it too. So here we go.
You got Meg Thee Stallion out there. You got City Girls out there. I think her name is Young MIA. Even the biggest female rapper out right now, Cardi B, is an ex-stripper. What we're witnessing with women and music culture, is it degrading? Is it liberating? How will you describe what you see going on right now?
Listen to this.
I can honestly say every single person that you mentioned, I have never heard a full song of theirs. I've heard one Cardi B song, but I just don't. I'm old enough to be most of their mothers that you mentioned. You know what I'm saying? So at the space I'm at, 20 years ago, I probably would have listened to that. 20 years later, in the space I'm at spiritually, at the space I am at just in my life as a more mature woman, that the type of music that I understand that they put out and talk about just doesn't resonate with where I'm at, with what I'm vibrating on. So I don't listen. What I will say, though, is completely without judgment, I have been there. Now, I haven't done what they would call, stripper music in the sense of what they're talking about or supposedly talking about to the degree that they do. I have not done some of the videos and the type of images that I've heard they've done, but I did push the envelope a little bit in my day when I first came out. And it's really a reflection of the collective consciousness. Mm-hmm. So this music is reflecting. They wouldn't be as popular as they are if there wasn't an audience and market for it. And it is a reflection of what the collective is, the level that the collective is vibrating on. So completely without judgment of these women, this is just the space that they are in. I'm not saying it's a positive thing. I do feel like it can be very damaging, and the images, because we've gotten very far away from what woman was several thousand years ago, and the reverence that was had for woman being divine, being seen as an aspect of the divine, this feminine aspect. So some people may see it as liberating. Some people may see it as a freedom of expression, but in my opinion, it's a very distorted and damaging image. And we see a lot of an abundance of over sexuality in music now, because woman has lost her sacredness.
That's very true.
There's nothing wrong with sex and sexuality. There's nothing wrong with the beauty and celebrating the beauty of sex, but we've lost the remembrance of the sacredness of it, the sacredness of woman, and we've lost our sensuality. And so sensuality is connected directly to our hearts. So we see an overabundance of sexuality and perverted sexuality, and no sacredness in it, and a lack of sensuality. And so this journey of reclaiming the divine feminine is really necessary for our personal transformation and for this collective healing of humanity. But we're just seeing a distortion of what woman is, and them really not knowing and understanding the damage that we do when we desecrate or degrade the sacredness of our sexuality. I don't judge it. I think it is and can be very damaging. I wouldn't want my children out portraying themselves in some of the ways that I had portrayed myself. And I literally was like, I'm going to walk out whatever it is I got to walk out spiritually, because I felt this spiritual pull. I felt this spiritual draw to learn more about who I was as a spiritual being. And I said, and I gave up a 7-figure record deal.
That's good. You didn't want to sell your soul.
And said to me, my children's future, what I offer into the world and how I present myself is more important than some dollars that I can get for literally selling my soul.
Now, that's a lot of great points that Soleil brought up in this video. Not just about female rappers nowadays, but just women in general and how they portray themselves sexually. Now, one of the main problems in our society is that, as she explained before, a long time ago, sex was something that was meant to be sacred. It was something that had a lot more value to it. And that a woman's body was something that was meant to be sacred and not just meant to be thrown out there for the rest of the world to see. And she admitted that she participated in some of that a little bit when she was younger in the music industry. I mean, I've seen some of her videos, I've seen some of her songs, and they were a bit provocative at that time. But she eventually came to a point in her career when she realized, do I really want to keep going with this? Is this something that I want to do? And I may make a lot of money, but am I compromising myself as a woman and as a person if I keep going off in this direction? And unfortunately, a lot of other women are not like that way at all. See, this is what I come to understand, is that in our culture nowadays, sex is no longer something that's really sacred. It's not something that is meant to be reserved and something that is of value that not everyone can just tap into, as in being thrown out there. But in our culture nowadays, I mean, you bring the guy who was interviewing her brought up a lot of these rappers like Megan Thee Stallion, City Girls, and Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. All these female rappers are what I call thought rappers, because they basically just rap about how big their ass is, how juicy their titties are, how tight their pussy is, how sexual they are, how many guys they fuck, and all these other things. And it's just, I think to myself, okay, yeah, we like sex, but what else more do you have to offer as a female rapper and as a woman to the world? You know, and just going further than that, it's as though on our appreciation of sex nowadays, given as something sacred as Soleil brings it up, is so far down the drain. And it comes to a point now, obviously we see sex that's everywhere, and it's being so well promoted and just so thrown out there. As we can see with social media nowadays, with women who are on Facebook and especially on Instagram, who are making all these pictures and videos of themselves in which they're practically naked with small thongs and small tops, and also making their own sexual videos on OnlyFans and throwing it out there for the world to see so they can make money. Now, for me, as a man, of what I want in a woman is that I honestly do not take a woman seriously who portrays herself overly sexually, as in she is always showing off her body way too much for the world to see and uses it in order to get what she wants. I think of women like that are women who honestly don't have very much self-respect. And they don't have very much high standards for themselves on who they choose to express their sexuality to. And that's a major problem because in our culture nowadays, we have these female thought rappers, and we also have certain women, as I brought up before in previous videos, like Kim Kardashian, such as Black China or Amber Rose, and so forth, who are women who are basically professional thoughts, professional whores that use sex in order to get what they want in society and from women. But there's a strong degradation to a woman's image and her sexuality, and she just throws it out for the world to see, in my opinion. Because for me, a good woman, she knows that she's beautiful. She knows that she's attractive, and a lot of guys like her. But a good woman is not going to be the type of woman that is always showing her body off and is sleeping around with a bunch of guys in order to get what she wants from them. In my opinion, a good woman knows she's beautiful, but she doesn't want to just throw everything out there. She might give a tease. She might go ahead and wear some nice, pretty clothes that are a little tight fitting or whatever when she's going out. But in my opinion, a woman who is always going out and just practically showing her ass and her titties out in public, and who by the time she's 35 years old has slept with 10 different guys and has a bunch of kids by a bunch of these different guys as she gets older, that's a woman to me that has no value. That's a woman to me that I'm not interested in touching at all. You know, even if she's interested in me, if I know her history as being a whore, as a slut, as a thought, I don't want to have anything to do with her. Because here's the thing, is that a woman who's a slut, a woman who is a whore, is a woman that will easily just give herself away to anybody. She doesn't have very many standards or strong expectations for herself and what she wants in a man. She's not interested in reserving her sacred body for the right type of man in order to raise children with. You know, her pussy is basically a commodity, as we see with many women today. Their pussy, their ass, and their titties is a commodity. It is something that they use to leverage in order to go ahead and to take as much as they can from other people, especially men. I mean, I've seen a video of Cardi B, I think on Instagram or something like that, in which she's teaching young girls how to go ahead and use men, you know, by flirting with them, having sex with them or whatever, so that these guys can go ahead and pay for your bills. They can go and pay for a home or a car for you. And it's like, fuck that shit. I don't want to have anything to do with these sort of bitches. Fuck that. Okay? It just seems as though to me is that looking around with a lot of women nowadays, it seems to be more and more and more so rarer that you're going to find a woman who has more of a clean slate and who, how can I put it, has more of a reservation of sex and how she uses it. Because I see with a lot of young girls nowadays around my age, and they're single, they're single moms, and they wonder, how come I can't find a good man to take care of my kids? Well, you haven't made good choices with men. That's why you're in this position that you are in life. If you made better choices with men and you reserved your sexuality, you reserved sex for being with the right type of person to have children with, you wouldn't be in this position. And I think that in order for women to not be in this position, they should approach sex as the way that Soleil approaches it. Is that sex is not meant to be something that's a commodity to use in order to get what you want from other people. She had that option. Like she said, she was going to get a 7-figure record deal, but chances are if she was going to do it, especially for female rappers up to that time, other than other female rappers like Missy Elliott, she would have to be more overtly sexual in order to make an industry. But she decided not to sell her soul or compromise herself because she knew as a woman that my body is something that has value and it's sacred and I need to respect it. And that sex is not meant just for pleasure or to use others. It's something that's important in our society because with sex, we bring life into this world. But in order to properly bring life into this world, we must respect it as something that is sacred. That is something that we can't just show the world to just anybody. Sex is meant to be between two, or I don't know. Some people might say, oh, I want to have multiple partners at once. But let me put it this way. For me, I would say that sex is something that's meant to be shared between two people that love each other in order to develop a closer connection with one another. That's what sex ideally is meant to be. But with our culture and society nowadays, with sex being thrown so far out there and not given the sacredness as it used to have, I think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of our relationships nowadays are so fucked up. Because we don't have the self-respect of sex like we used to. It's like women back in the days were not allowed or told to give their bodies away so easily. You know, if you were going to have sex with a woman, you had to go through a lot of hoops in order to do it. You had to go ahead and get married to her. You have to go ahead and talk with her family in order to do so. But nowadays, it's like women can go ahead and just give themselves away within just a few days of meeting a guy because they have no respect for their bodies. They have no respect for probably one of the most valuable things on earth, their vagina. I mean, I know I may sound crude with it, but you know, that's one of the most valuable things on earth is a vagina. But it's like you can see nowadays, you can go on Instagram now, and it's like women are just going, look at this, guys. I know you like it. Send me money. It's just like, it's just, I wouldn't take a woman like that seriously. I know that there's a possibility of having her as a side chick or whatever, but it's like, what is the long term of a woman like her? Because for me, a woman that only has nothing else to offer except for sex and her body is a woman that has no real substance to her. She has no real value. Okay? I mean, I like, sex is fun. Sex is great. But if that's all your relationship with a woman is based on, the relationship is not going to last. There's no real substance to it. Sex should not be the only thing that is a foundation of a relationship, but it's an enhancement of a relationship to be closer together. I've been reading and understanding more on relationships and how it works. And I remember I finished this book recently called The 7 Levels of Intimacy by Matthew Kelly. And that some of the most important levels of intimacy is not just sexual intimacy, but it's also your spiritual intimacy, your emotional intimacy, and your mental intimacy. How do you connect with each other on your spiritual basis? How do you connect with each other on your mental basis? The way you think and how you how your thought process is, and your emotional intimacy. Are you in touch with each other with your emotions and your feelings? Do you have an understanding, appreciation of each other on all those levels, more than just sex? And it's like looking around with what's going on with popular culture with women and their sexuality nowadays and how a lot of girls are. It's like I find it very hard to find a woman who has more of the respect for herself, in which her body is sacred. And to me, it's just sad. And it just seems like more and more as years go by, things are just getting worse. So I don't know the possibility of developing more of a long-term relationship unless maybe I find myself a woman who was raised to have more of a sense of self-respect of her body and how her body is something that's meant to be sacred, not just given away to anyone. Like, I remember one time I was going out with this one girl. She was a black girl from originally from the Bahamas, but became she went to the United States to study for school and college. And I met her when I was taking a month-long trip and vacation in Costa Rica for the July 2014. And we both really liked each other. We met each other because we were in the same Spanish language school, in the same class together, and she liked me because I was fun and silly and funny, and she thought I was cute, and I broke the ice with her. And immediately after I asked her out, I was kissing her all the time and whatever, and she's like, I think we should just slow it down. Just take it one step at a time. And to be honest with her, I respected her for that. I respect a woman that, says that, I really, really like you, but I just want to take things more so steps at a time and test, I have a respect for women who are like that. I know there are situations in which, she might be sleeping around with another guy or whatever, but that's why you want to test people out over time. And I have more respect for women and for guys who test women out more so over time. Because when you're immediately having sex with someone, you don't really know this person. And there's a chance that it might end up in a big disaster. So my thing is, guys, again, don't waste your time with women who are whores or thots or whatever. I would say look out more for a woman who, someone more like I think Soleil is honestly the way that her mental state is and her spiritual emotional state is far more attractive than a lot of these sluts and whores that are out there nowadays. And I think that finding a woman with a mind state like her is more so the type of woman that you are more so guaranteed to have a fruitful and real substantial relationship with. So, anyways, guys, that's what I can say about this topic that I might bring up. So, we'll see how further on society goes with women and for them being sluts and whores and thots and just throwing sex out there. But if it takes me a while to go and find a woman who thinks on the same, resonates on the same level and vibration like Soleil does, then whatever. I just think about it like this. When it comes to finding a good woman, you got to dig through a lot of dirt before you find the real jewels. So, and just as women can say the same thing about guys. So, if she comes along, then that's great. If not, then whatever. But as I said before, women are not the number one priority of my life because a lot of girls out there I'm just not interested in, and this is one of the main reasons. Well, if she comes along, has a lot of substantial things to offer other than just sex and a hot body, that's great. I'm still interested in searching and seeing what's out there and just kicking back and enjoying my life and moving forward with what I want to do. So, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and you appreciate what Soleil had to say. I mean, I'll put the link to the video in the description so you can see for yourself and check her out. She made some really nice rap music back in the days, even though it was pretty provocative and hardcore. I appreciate her stance on how she sees female rappers nowadays and women in general nowadays. And women ought to look up more to women like her. Young girls need to look up more to women like her instead of fucking trash like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, City Girls, and Megan Thee Stallion, as I said before. Anyways, you like what I have to say, of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you appreciate it, share it with someone who might appreciate what I have to say on this topic. And till next time, as I said before, stay away from these thoughts and find yourself a good, wholesome woman. Peace out. Have a good night.